Well, as everyone is now aware, I have informed the club that at the end of this season I will be departing Tasmania to take up a role in Melbourne. The key reason for my departure obviously sits at way more than a new job. It's obviously the call of my home and going home to my son and my broader family and friends in Melbourne. And I've had a really, really challenging year. Aside from my role, I've had a few health issues, and it gave me time to reflect on the things that are really important in life, and I decided that family is actually that. So this club has been a wonderful journey for me. It's become an extension of me, I think also almost in an unhealthy way. I live and breathe the club. I have done since I got here on the island, and I'm incredibly proud of what this club has achieved and the amazing people that reside within it. And there were some key objectives when I took the role, and the first one obviously being getting the team on the court, and we did that, and we went to a championship in Year 3, which we're incredibly proud of. Obviously the building of a high performance centre is crucial, and of course we always wanted to get this WNBL side up and running. And so when I looked at my key objectives and following the sale of the club, I thought it was important to reflect on whether I should be going on the next part of the journey, and my decision was that I think it's time to hand it over to some fresh eyes.
Such important reasons why you made the decision. Does it make it any easier though?
No, I'm incredibly sad. There's been lots of tears in the last 24 hours. They've mainly been reserved for the staff because I spend a hell of a lot of time with these people in the front office, and I know how incredibly hard they work to make me look good, and I feel very humbled by that, and I feel very humbled by this whole club and the amazing people in it. I've enjoyed a really wonderful relationship with Scott Roth, who's always been by my side offering me support and occasionally tough love, and it's helped me grow up. And it's really helped me reflect on how to be a better administrator, and I've learnt so much at this club, and I'm really proud of what we've achieved, but I do believe the time is right for me to move forward.
You mentioned some of the things you've achieved there. What are you most proud of over the 5 years?
Look, I think, there's so many things that I'm proud of, and there's so many things that I can say that this club truly means, but for me, I guess it's a sense of community it's created across the state of Tasmania. I knew 5 years ago when I saw the position advertised that there was an opportunity to build a place of belonging for Tasmanians, and that happened to be through a sport and entertainment product called basketball. For me, it was more about building and galvanising community, and that's something that I hold very dear. I love people, and I love being around people, and I love seeing the joy on people's faces when they come to games. It really does put so many smiles on faces. And I think this week we've all seen the devastation and the seriousness of life, and I think one thing sport offers is that ability to escape, even if it's just for 2 or 3 hours, and the Jack Jumpers games have done that very well and provided that for the people of Tasmania.
Have you had much time to reflect on the legacy you leave behind, particularly to young women sort of looking at a career in sports leadership going forward?
Yeah, look, I took a gamble, I guess, to come here, and I always aspired to do the role of the CEO, and by all means it hasn't been easy. It's been really lonely, and I know Larry said to me a million times, leadership can be lonely, and it can be very lonely at the top, and I think when you amplify that by going home each night to no family and none of your loved ones really at home to help you through those journeys, it's been tough at times, but I do hope that the resilience that it's taught me can rub off on others, and especially young girls, and know that there are pathways there for women if you really lean into them and really explore them, and this has been that for me.
Touched on the timing a minute ago, Jules coming in high performance and not far away, I guess. Did you consider staying on it a little bit longer, or did you feel like now's a good time to make that change?
I had several discussions with the outdoor group, and I made them aware that I was feeling a little bit fatigued, and that I was worried that the energy it takes for a start-up and a 5-year-old is immense, and I was concerned that I might not have that energy and whether the club actually needed fresh eyes. One thing I will always say is the best interest of the club will always be in my heart, and I really wanted to have that conversation. Outdoor made it really, really clear to me they wanted me to stay. We explored that over a number of weeks, and I vacillated with that decision time and time again. But overwhelmingly, the desire to go home, and my son graduated on Monday night, and the appreciation he had for me flying over to be at his ceremony, I couldn't help but think, I don't think many kids don't take it for granted like my son has, and it's just my time now to go and do some more things with him.
Christine, I'm sure you may have been asked earlier, but perhaps to recap for us, if you could, what's prompted your decision to step away from the top job at the Jack Jumpers, and was it a difficult decision?
Really, really difficult, but very, very personal. Very, very personal decision to go and be closer to my family in Melbourne and go back and be around some of my friends. I think that overweighed everything else. And then, as I said earlier, knowing when the right time to leave is a really, really hard one. But I'd never want to leave this club at a bad time, and I think now is the right time. There is so much opportunity for this club. It is playing at the top of its game right now. It has a wonderful coach, it has wonderful staff, and it's got wonderful ambition moving forward. We're about to move into a high-performance centre. The Jewels will take the court in October 2026, and all of those things have been set up now, so we are set up for success, and I do think that all things considered now is the right time to make the decision that I will finish up at the end of the season.
What will be the process for replacing you?
I do believe they're going to go. They're going to do a national search for the role, and so they should. I think that any sports administration roles in Tasmania are going to be highly sought after roles. I mean, I don't think any of us have been blind to see what's happening in sport in Tasmania. I think our championship got it rolling a couple of years ago. We've seen a BBL, a WBBL championship. We've seen the Devils truly arrive on the national AFL stage. There is so much excitement for sport in this state, and I think that you will find it'll be a very popular job. I think people will really want to be part of what is being built here, not just at the Jack Jumpers, but in the state of Tasmania.
Will you play a role in that?
I'll certainly work with the outdoor group behind the scenes to make sure that we get the right skill set. I've been in the business a long time, and I know what skill sets are required at each level, and certainly they'll have an idea of the type of person they want, but I will play a role however that I can. I think what really matters is people in Tasmania. I don't think you should ever take the people of Tasmania for granted. I think they're very humble, they're very authentic, and I always say they pick a fraud a mile away. So when you come here, you've got to really want to engage with this market. You've really got to want to do it well. But first and foremost, you've got to put people first, and I hope they find themselves a really really people-driven leader.
So obviously, it definitely should open up to a national search, but there's obviously some good people working here at the moment internally. Would you like to see one of them get an opportunity?
100%. There's some great talent in this building right now, and it's up to them to put their hands up. I'm not preempting of anyone that's going to do that, and nor should I. And I certainly would encourage people, if they are interested, and we've got a lot of talent in this business, that they should be putting their hand up for that. And I think that you've got to do the right thing in these situations. You're running two sporting teams and two prominent sporting teams, and I think you don't always get the best available. You go and look for the best, and I really hope that we find someone that is really, really keen to take on what this club has done in the past, but also what it's able to do into the future.
How much more challenging do you think the role and the opportunity would be with the Jewels on board as well going forward?
Look, I've done a startup. The Jackies were a startup, and now the Jewels are there. So it is challenging. I mean, startups are hard, and you ask Kath McCann and everyone that's around there at the Devils. I mean, it's chaotic, and every day you're just dealing with whole new things. And we've obviously got systems and processes in place here that have been built for our men's program. But the women's team will sit alongside the men, and they'll be put on an equal platform to the men, and that means that we've got to resource it, and we've got to look at it equally to what we've done. So there's no doubt the workload will be big. We've got, as I said, great people in place to do it, but we will be expanding the business also to cater for that. And I think the leader really needs to have the energy to take it to where it deserves to go. And at this point in time, I think that, as I said, it deserves fresh eyes.
You arrive at Super Netball at a fascinating time for Tassie as well. Potential expansion here, all about setting up an expansion team here. Can you comment on that at this stage?
Oh, look, it's not lost on me, and I haven't got the feet under the desk yet, nor have I met with Netball to have a look at what that is. My role will be to run the Super Netball League, and obviously the expansion is a big part of that story at the moment. But I'll be looking at the entire netball ecosystem in terms of their commercial opportunities and growth as well. So it's a really big role, it's a meaty role, and it's one that I'm really excited to do. And no one knows better than I do firsthand how great this market is and how much it supports things. If you build it, they will come. And I certainly have a firsthand insight into that, but I've worked in many places of Australia as well, so I know each market well.
Is it a no-brainer? We give my stats sort of already there, ready to go. I'm sure it'll have government support, probably not as expensive to run as some of the other clubs that are out there at the moment.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, as I said, I haven't seen the other bids. I know it's been a very popular bidding process, and I know that they've got lots of bids. So I can only say that what I have experienced here, yes, the infrastructure's in place, the support networks are in place, and the unique thing we have in Tasmania is incredible support of our government. They really believe that sport underpins this state, and they've shown that with the Jackies and obviously with the Devils, and I'm sure they will do that with the netball bid as well. But as I said, I haven't been privy to that at this point in time.
I was getting out of clubland and into league administration, something that you were so interested in.
It's a great question, and it's one that I've reflected on, because clubland is very different to working at the governing body. You know, no one barracks for the governing body, everybody barracks for a club, and given that I'm a very passionate person and that I get energy from other people, and that the way that they barrack for their team, it's going to be very different for me to go to work each day and not have that underpinning what I do. But what I will say is this, that I'm a big fan of female sport and the opportunity female sport has in Australia, and whether that's through the WNBL and the Jewels or with netball. And I think that you'll see female sport take a much bigger role on the national sporting stage, and I'm going to netball, and I have worked in male sport my entire career, and I think I've learned a lot in that, because male sport's always been much better funded and resourced, so I've had the opportunity to learn a lot in that space. And I think as much as anything, as much as I'm doing it for me, I actually want to bring that experience and that knowledge to a female sport and see what we can actually do with that.
Were you approached for the role, or did you inquire with interest?
I was recommended for the role. They reached out to me some time ago. It's been an ongoing conversation. At the beginning of it, the timing wasn't quite right for me, but we had continued dialogue. And at the end of the day, they really showed me a vision with their 10-year plan of what's possible with netball and where they wanted to take it. And as someone that loves to be part of growth and someone that loves to be part of building something exciting, I think that it ticked a lot of boxes in terms of my career and where I wanted to go. So yes, those conversations have been, as I said, ongoing, and we landed on it a couple of weeks ago.
Those insights from male sport that you've gained over your career, how are you hoping to use them in women's sport?
Well, as I said, you know, male sports are more, you know, they've got greater funding and they've got more resources. And when you do that, you get access to some of the best ideas and the best people. And so the things I've taken and learnt from that, I'll certainly be bringing to netball in the same way that I've worked in many clubs in different codes. And when I put my hand up for this role, I wanted to take the things that I'd learnt in those other codes, both good and bad, to build this club. And when I say bad, it's the stuff that I knew I didn't want this club to bring in the early days. But there was so much wealth of experience and knowledge that I was able to bring in from all the different codes and clubs, and what was good about them. And I don't see netball as any different to what I've learnt in my journey through male sport, but also what I've learnt here. And really, you know, for me, everything comes back to community, everything comes back to people. And, you know, netball obviously is played by a lot of girls around the country, and let's see how we grow that.
I know Larry doesn't own the club anymore, but obviously you worked pretty closely with him for a long time. What was his reaction to your news?
Yeah, Larry and I spoke about it. Larry knows me really well. Larry's always offered me a lot of feedback, and he's always been quite direct in his feedback with me, but it's been very appreciated, because I'll say without hesitation, Larry's made me a better person and he's made me a better administrator. And we talked about it and we went back and forth about it, but at the end of the day, Larry wants me to be happy. We've been able to overcome the 5 years, the boss relationship, and we've actually become friends. And I know that Larry will be disappointed that I'll be leaving the NBL ecosystem, but I know that he'll be very happy that I've made a decision to return home for my family, because he is also a man that treasures family. And I spoke about that in my own personal post recently about his community feeling the devastation and grief, and I'm sure he's got great perspective around that versus me leaving the Jack Jumpers.
What position do you think netball was in generally? You've obviously seen, you know, cricket and football explode on the women's side more recently.
I thought you were going to ask me what position I played in netball, which is goal
That
attack.
too,
Because
that's
apparently
good.
that's a question I'm going to be asked, so it was goal attack. I think netball, I mean, it's obviously the number one female sport in the country. It's obviously a sport that every single girl grows up with at some stage, and how they convert that at the national level. I mean, the Diamonds are one of the most, the most amazing team and one of the most successful teams in the world, and one of Australia's greatest pride is the Diamonds. But the Super Netball League has got an opportunity to really, get on board and really be, bigger and stronger than it currently is. Although the crowds are fantastic, there's so much more opportunity of what that competition can do. And I love that challenge, and I love that excitement of going in there to see what's possible. And not to say they haven't already done amazing things. I think there were 15,000 people packed into John Cain Arena for the last grand final, but it's also to look under the bonnet and say what else is there to do, what's working well and what's not, and let's see if we can change it.
And in terms of, you've got the rest of the season left, are there big things on the bucket list that you really want to tick off before you go?
Well, look, I really want to. We've spent the morning with the front office talking about, the integration of the front office staff and the players into one venue. So you've got to remember, over the 5-year journey I've been here, and one of my greatest disappointments about leaving is that I won't actually be in the high performance centre, but I certainly want to make sure that our staff are ready to work under one roof, because it is a big change when you're working in two different environments. We are going to be witnessing firsthand how a high-performing team operates in a training facility, and equally the high-performing team is going to be way more cognisant of what goes on in the front office to get them on the court. But it's also making sure that we all share the same vision and the same values, and we're doing a huge piece of work on that, and I want to make sure that that's completed by the time I go, so that there's a seamless integration between the front office and the basketball, both the men's and the women's program.